Hey, beautiful people. Welcome back to Soul Light Reflections. I wanted to start out this episode with a huge thank you to every single person who listens to this podcast, who rates, reviews, shares, comments, all of the things to help support this podcast. When I first started this podcast almost 2 years ago, it started really just on a soul calling. I needed a longer form platform to be able to share what was on my heart. And now being 48 episodes in and having like a little bit of a brief hiatus there for a couple of months in my first trimester of pregnancy, I just feel so grateful to have this platform and to have more people tuning in and resonating and learning and sharing your insights after listening to these episodes. So, yeah, I just wanted to say thank you so much to every single one of you. You are all absolutely amazing, and I appreciate every single one of you. I also want to encourage you to reach out to me if something on this podcast and any episode resonates with you. If it sparks some sort of new thought, or if it just feels like you want to reach out and just say hi, I would absolutely love that. The hard part about podcasting is sometimes it can be actually most of the time, I will say, it can be very one-sided. Like you don't know who's actually listening on the other side, what they're doing, what they're thinking, as opposed to social media, where a lot of times we know exactly what people are thinking because they're commenting or sharing or whatever. So anyway, just wanted to throw that out there, say thank you so much. And if you haven't had a chance to go rate or review or comment or share an episode of your choice with people that you love, I would appreciate that so, so much if you would take like a couple of seconds, maybe 1 minute to do that right now. While you're thinking about it, you have no idea just how much that helps me to spread the reach and to share the love. So, as you can see in the title of this episode, I really wanted to share a little bit more about my pregnancy journey again. And I didn't really plan on sharing like a ton about my pregnancy journey, but that's the season of life that I'm in right now. And I have gotten a couple of requests from people to share more about it. So, here I am. I wanted to share today about the things that I have done preconception all the way till now, where we are basically ready to enter the birthing portal at any moment. I'm 38 and a half weeks pregnant now. And I wanted to talk about all the ways that I have helped to prepare my mind, my body, my soul for this entire journey. I really want to take it back to preconception first, because I think that it is pertinent. If you don't know this about me, I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis and autoimmune disease back in February of 2017. So about 9 years ago. And as a result, I completely overhauled my lifestyle. I strengthened my relationship with my inner being. I got a lot more spiritual along the way. And I just have like this really deep connection with my intuition and know exactly what it is that my body and my mind need to find that like homeostasis and a more regulated nervous system. And I strongly believe that without that being part of my journey, I would not be where I am today when it comes to my pregnancy journey. So, pulling it back to about a year ago, I found this amazing woman named Steph through Instagram. Her content just started popping up on my feed, and I was like, oh my gosh, I really resonate with her content. And I started following her, and I messaged her and just said, hi, like, thank you for putting this content out. You seem really cool. And so we got to chatting in the DMs and she posts a lot about holistic birth. And she is actually a labor and delivery nurse and a doula and a prenatal yoga instructor, prenatal massage therapist, like all of the things. And so she sees like all sides of the birthing spectrum. And so it was a really good resource to have as I was starting to realize that spirit was coming to us with this spirit baby like sooner than we knew. I've talked about this on other episodes, but basically I was getting these visitations from a spirit baby and I was like, oh my gosh, like we were so back and forth for years about having a kid, but I think this is happening. Like, I think this is part of our path and we need to like really come to terms with this and recognize like the beautiful journey that is ahead and the privilege that we have to be able to do this and how wonderful it is to be able to approach this with so much intention. So that's the part of the journey that I was on when I found her on Instagram. As we were chatting, she asked me, what is it that you are doing to prepare your mind, your body, your soul for conception as you're in your preconception journey? And I said, honestly, a lot of the things that I guess you could say are preparation are things that I've just been doing for many years to regulate my nervous system and to just like connect with my body in general. I said, the only thing that I have for sure started to add in the last couple of months is womb meditations. And she gave me a really nice piece of advice, which was anytime that I was doing any part of my daily wellness or spiritual practice, to work in intention for my future child. So, one way I did that is during workouts. If I was having like a really hard time with the last couple of reps or something, I would just take a moment to tune in and say, hey, I am doing this not only for myself, but for you, talking to my spirit baby, so that I can be the strongest, most healthy vessel that I can for you when you decide to come into our lives. And honestly, that really did make a really big difference. And same thing when I was doing my womb meditations or I was journaling, like I was doing a lot of talking to this child who I was not yet with us. I had also been doing hypnosis meditations for a couple of years prior to this, but during early pregnancy, in the very beginning, first trimester, I really dug deep into the hypnosis meditations. It actually helped me a lot, which is getting out of my head when I was dealing with really insane nausea and insomnia. And so that's another thing that I started doing from really early on. I was moving my body as much as possible during the first trimester, but because I was so exhausted and so nauseous, like literally all day, it was definitely more challenging. And it was a shift that happened where I was used to doing strength training like 3 to 5 times a week, and I was able to do it like 1, maybe 2 times a week at that point. I was going to yoga classes 1 or 2 times a week at this point, but it was not consistent. There were some days where I was feeling pretty good and I could get like a 25-30 minute strength workout in, or maybe like a 30-minute walk. And then there were other days where I literally couldn't even do a 5-minute walk. Like I literally was like, I'm sorry to my dog, and just was like, I can only take you out to pee. That's all I got in me. The first trimester was really a lesson in fully trusting my body's needs when it came to food, hydration, naps, like all the things, energy levels, social battery. And I think that the first trimester really prepared me for the end of third trimester, because I'm realizing a lot of similarities as far as like my social battery. I feel like I have like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours in me to spend with people outside my home. And then I'm like, I have to go home and take a 2 or 3 hour nap. Like it's crazy, especially coming from me who is a total extrovert and loves being around people. It's wild. Same thing with food. Like I know I need to eat, and I definitely am more hungry than I was in first or second trimester, but nothing ever sounds good. And so I just have to trust when something sounds good. Like I need to get it in me because otherwise I'm probably not going to eat and my body's not going to be happy. So that has been kind of a journey throughout the whole pregnancy, is really just like trusting my body's needs and tuning into that. And also like not overthinking the symptoms. But I think I talked about that on the last pregnancy episode, so I'm not going to get too far into that. Other things that I did during first trimester, I actually did not start taking a prenatal. Now, I know that's a little bit controversial, but hear me out. For me personally, I started taking an array of natural holistic supplements when I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease. And over the years, that has kind of evolved into the stack that I have currently. And so when I was looking at prenatals, I was like, wait, I already take a lot of these things. I only have to add like 2 supplements and I'll be covered. Because a lot of the prenatals that I was looking at, even the like cleaner ones, had a lot of fillers in them, or just had things that I was like, that doesn't seem necessary. And so I made the decision to just add a couple extra supplements, and I was like, we're good. And I'll talk more about the supplements in a little bit, because I did add some other things later on. But yeah, that's how I started, and I chose not to take a prenatal because I just was like, again, trusting my body's needs. And I know that if something in my blood panel came back and like I needed to add something, then I would. I also at the very beginning of pregnancy made my own belly oil because I didn't want to get stretch marks. And I have heard many times that like stretch marks are more genetic and like some people just don't get them. And I just was like, I don't want to fuck around with that. And it's just like a nice practice. I say affirmations as I'm rubbing it on my belly. And so I've done that since the very beginning. But similar to the prenatals, I was looking at these belly oils online and I'm like, some of them just have nasty ingredients or fillers, or the ones that are more clean are super expensive and they're ingredients that I can easily get and make my own. So what I did at the beginning, I went online and I ordered big bottles of each of the oils that I needed to make my own blend. And this was literally probably 31 weeks. So how many months is that? Like 7 months ago, I got these things. I still have those bottles and I still make more belly oil from them. Like I haven't run out. And so A, I saved money. B, I'm making it for myself. So that feels really good. And C, because I'm making it for myself, I know exactly what's in it. I know exactly how it's being made. So, basically I just like took an old tincture bottle, obviously washed it, and then just make the belly oil in that. And then I have the little dropper and I like put it all over my belly and rub it in and say my affirmations to myself and to my little baby girl. And yeah, it's great. So highly recommend. And if you want the belly oil recipe, reach out to me, DM me, email me, and I'm so happy to share. Another thing that I started doing from early on, and I mean, like long before conception, because this has just always been a part of my life, is music. But especially during that first trimester, music helped me so much with regulating my nervous system because I dealt with the absolute worst insomnia at the very beginning. And that's something that's kept up through my entire pregnancy, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. But it was the worst during first trimester. And so being able to put on the type of music that I needed, like the vibe that I needed, really helped me to come into my breath, which a lot of times was the only thing that helped with the nausea. And yeah, so music is, I mean, it's always been a huge part of my life, but it's been a huge part of my pregnancy journey for sure. And then finally, in first trimester, something that I think is so overlooked and so important, which isn't necessarily like specific to the mind or body, but if you think about it, it really is I went into my very first midwife appointment with so much confidence and like with an advocate mindset. Like I knew that it was important to set the tone really early of the type of care that I expected, the type of birth that I wanted, that I was going to be making the calls and not like persuaded to do something just because. And I think that takes some practice. And I definitely had some practice with that through my autoimmune journey of like going doctor to doctor. But yeah, I think that this is just like so important. And I highly recommend if you're listening to this, if you're on a preconception or conception or pregnancy journey, to go find the woman that I was talking about, Steph, who actually is my birthing coach and doula. Her handle on Instagram is Birth Alchemy, like B Earth, like the planet, BEARTH Alchemy. She is actually shifting more towards like the hospital setting as far as supporting women in their birthing journeys, because there is such a need of knowing how properly to advocate for yourself. Because in hospitals, I could go on about this forever. And one day I will have her on talking about this more in depth, but it's not set up with you in mind. It's literally set up with you as a number, and they're just trying to get you in and out, and they just want you to comply to their protocol because it makes everything easier for them, not for you. So anyway, I went in with that mentality because I already kind of knew that. Now, after working with her in her one-on-one program, which I enrolled around 20 weeks, I think, I learned a whole lot more about that. And I was so grateful that I did go in with the mentality that I did. But I learned like even more about just how like convoluted the system is and how it is definitely not set up with women actually in mind. But that's a whole other thing. So moving forward from about 13 weeks, I think, these are all like kind of general, like what I could remember about like when I started these things during my pregnancy journey. But I think it was around 13 weeks, I started getting prenatal massages every 6 to 7 weeks. Now, I have never been a girly who gets massages all the time. I've always wanted to be that girly, but I never have been. And I started getting them every 6 to 7 weeks up until about 3 weeks ago. And it makes such a difference. Now, my massage therapist offered either side lying or a face down bolster. So they have this like really cool, like cutout bolster for your breasts and your belly. And you can like lay on your belly, which feels so good when you're pregnant. You're just like, oh, get that like weight off. And yeah, so that's been super, super beneficial and helpful for me. And also right after, my first trimester was done, like once I was like not feeling quite as nauseous all the time, Max and I committed to going to yoga classes at our local studio once a week. I knew that once a week was super doable. It wasn't like, it didn't feel hard. I was like, okay, once a week I can totally commit to. So ever since like pretty close after my first trimester, we started going once a week, and we've upheld that literally till now. Another thing, right after that 13-week mark was that I was able to be a lot more consistent with my daily supplements. During that first trimester, I was struggling so bad because all of my supplements were pills. And like I said, I had this stack that I literally have had for years. And so usually before I was pregnant, I would just take my handful of supplements, put it in my mouth, chug some water, and I'm good. But I literally had to take them like one or two at a time. And when you have like 9 or 10 different capsules that you're taking, that feels like a lot, especially when you're so nauseous and can like barely get down water. So around 13 weeks or so is when I was able to be a lot more consistent with that, which felt good because again, these are really essential like vitamins and minerals and herbs that my body needed in order to sustain life within me. So it felt good to be able to be like a lot more diligent about those because I could actually stomach them after that first trimester. Moving forward to about the halfway point, like around 20 weeks, that is where I added an iron supplement. I was not taking iron prior. And during my first prenatal appointment with my midwife at a hospital at the time, my iron levels were like teetering on low, but they were still in the normal range. And she had said, if we start trending towards low, we're going to have to put you on an iron supplement. I'm like, okay. Well, one of the blood tests came back and yeah, I needed to get on an iron supplement. So I found a very clean tincture iron supplement because I was like, I am not about to take this like dyed red pill that's like has a bunch of fillers in it. Like, let me just like get straight to the source. I am like super particular about supplements. So added that in there, and I was already taking other tinctures. So I just add it with the other tinctures, throw some OJ in there, delicious. And I also started drinking Nora tea daily. Nora tea is nettle, oat straw, red raspberry leaf, and alfalfa. And it is supposed to be really, really good for the woman's body, especially during pregnancy. It has a lot of like micronutrients in there. And as the pregnancy gets later and later, it's recommended to drink more of it per day. So I started out with just like 1 cup brewed strong per day. I also added in pelvic floor exercises every day, which I still do. So yeah, around 20 weeks, I started taking about 10 minutes per day to do these pelvic floor exercises, which I highly recommend. And I'm so happy to share if you're curious, like what specific exercises they are. It's a little bit hard to explain, like just talking to you. But so that's when I started those. And around the same time is when sleep started getting a little bit more uncomfortable. And I was still dealing with some pretty bad insomnia. And it was just not as comfortable. And so I caved. I got one of those big ass pregnancy pillows, the ones that look like a big U. I'm telling you, I held out for a long time because I was like, I don't know. I've never like been one to sleep with a million pillows like that. Like maybe one between the legs is like what I was doing in the beginning. But no, I love my pregnancy pillow. I highly recommend. Like even when we've gone out of town, anywhere where we're driving, I bring it with me. I love that thing. I don't even know if I'll get rid of it after pregnancy. Around this time, I also mentioned I started one-on-one coaching with Steph. And she is absolutely amazing. She had online modules to go through, also one-on-one coaching calls every week. And two of those coaching calls were with Max present too. And so that was really, really supportive and beneficial of my journey in more ways than I can even like share on this short podcast episode. We also around this time switched our care from the hospital with a midwife to a birthing center. There's a whole backstory of the reason why, but it really doesn't matter. Basically, this is something that had been on my heart, but I just kind of assumed that it was like out of our range financially. I just kind of assumed that they didn't take insurance and that everything would be out of pocket and like there was no way. And long story short, we were urged by the universe of like, give it a second chance, like just try it out. And so we went for a free consult and absolutely loved it. And they did take insurance and we were like, oh my God, wait, this is like actually attainable for us. And ever since then, we have been so happy with our decision. They're just absolutely amazing. There's such a stark difference between like, yes, they both have midwives, but in the hospital, obviously these midwives are more medically trained and just like trained for interventions and stuff like that and have like certain protocol that they do every time. Whereas the midwives at the birthing center, it is holistic centered care. It is patient centered care. And the difference is wild. Like I could sit here forever talking about how different it just feels, not even just during the appointments, but like to your body when you walk into the facility. It is so different. The birthing rooms at the birthing center literally look like a bed and breakfast. It's amazing. And I'm so excited to give birth there. Around 20 weeks is when I started building out the baby registry. We just used Amazon. I know that there's so much controversy around that, but for me, I was like, you know what? This is the best prices for people. And I know that a lot of people are going to probably try to buy things off Amazon anyway. And second of all, it was really easy to track everything. And third of all, it's something that I know is like really easy for most people to use versus like having all these other sites. So we kept it simple. I know that's controversial. It is what it is. Sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. We also started playing Eliana a bedtime song around this time. So we heard from a friend of ours that when you play like a lullaby to your baby in the womb, they can recognize that when they're out of the womb and they recognize like, okay, it's wind down time. And so Max and I were thinking, okay, what type of lullaby would we not get tired of hearing? And we're like, I don't want a lullaby. I don't want just like a basic ass song. And so we chose the song Kusanagi by Odessa, and we would play it to her every night as we were like laying down in bed for the night. And that was a really sweet ritual. Honestly, we kind of stopped eventually. We still play it to her sometimes, but we did it like every single night for like 5 weeks straight. And then I was like, I feel like I'm going to get tired of this song and I really don't want to get tired of it. So I feel like we should like take a pause on this. So we still do play it to her sometimes. And we made it the very first song in the mix that we just recorded for her that we're going to play right after she is out during like our golden hour where it's just the three of us and no one's interrupting us. So I think she'll know her song. Okay, moving forward, I think this was all around 25 weeks or so. This is where we started making really informed and intuitive decisions on vaccines. And this includes vaccines that I was encouraged to get. I will go into this on another episode about the choices that I have made, including vaccines, because there are some choices I've made during pregnancy which are quite controversial. And I'm totally happy to share, but this is like not the episode for that. So anyway, around 25 weeks, that's where we were like, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is our plan, that sort of thing. We finalized the birthing vision. I really love how my birthing coach calls it a birthing vision versus a birth plan. Because when you have a plan, your mind just attaches to the outcomes. Your mind is like, nope, this is the way it's going. A birthing vision gives you a little bit more wiggle room and makes you remember how you want to feel during your birth. Because at the end of the day, God forbid I had to like get a C-section or go in for an epidural or something. That's not going to make me any less of a mother. And if it was like on this plan that in my mind was set in stone, I would feel like a failure. But instead, I'm able to have this general vision for how I want my birth to look and feel. And then from there, I'm also mentally prepared for if other outcomes happen. So I got that typed and printed, and I put it in a little like sheet protector, and I put it in my birthing bag. Max and I continued to have conversations around this time, making sure that we're like on the same page with the birthing vision and all the things surrounding like boundaries with family and like with friends during that immediate postpartum period. Like, what are our roles going to look like? How are we going to make sure that we stay intimately connected when we're not going to be having sex? Like things like that. Around this time, I also started getting baby's room ready, which honestly, I never thought I'd be so into. I will say, like, it's not like full on nursery vibes like I see a lot of people doing. This goes along with one of those like controversial things, but we didn't get a crib. Like, should we have a bedside bassinet for her? And I'm like, I don't know, cribs just like creep me out. I'll get into that on the other pregnancy episode, but yeah, I just was like, I don't know. So she's got her bookshelf. We've got her changing station all set up. We've got, all of her clothes are all, set up, whatever. But yeah, around 25 weeks, I started to kind of like think about getting her room ready. Fast forward to around 33 weeks. That's when we had our baby shower. So that was absolutely lovely. It was so nice. We did it a little bit differently. So honestly, a lot of baby shower games like just give me the ick. I'm like, ugh, seen it before. So I did have one game in mind, but we didn't actually end up playing it, which totally feel free to steal it. I was really excited about it, but it just like, I don't know, people were talking, it like wasn't really the vibe. So I'll just tell you what it was. My vision was to have 3 teams of 2 people, and we had a whole mocktail station set up for everyone that could like, we had all kinds of like syrups, tonic water, soda water, like fresh herbs, fresh fruit, like all kinds of things for people to make their own mocktails. So my idea for one of the games was that we'd have 3 teams of 2 people, and they would have to create a mocktail. And Max and I were the judges of which one tasted the best. However, the twist was that each one of those teams had a baby food puree to incorporate into their mocktail. Now, don't worry, I didn't like get gross ones. Like I got all fruit purees, but they were baby food. So I think one of them was like pear blueberry or something, and another one was like, I don't know, maybe apple, and another one was mango something. So we didn't unfortunately end up playing that one, but some other things that we had set up that I was really excited about was a station where people could decorate and create their own affirmation card for Eliana, and that was so fun to go through afterwards. Another one was we played a bingo game, so we made our own bingo board, and some of them were like connection points, like go talk to someone you don't know or give someone a high five. And then other ones were questions like, where did Max and Rachel meet? Like that sort of thing. And then another one was activities. So like things to do around the venue, like little games and stuff. And so we had little prizes for whoever the first like 5 people that got bingos were. Another station we had set up was a little journal where people could write notes for me to read postpartum. That felt really exciting, and I cannot wait to read those postpartum. I haven't looked at them yet. But I feel like a lot of times these baby showers are so like just focused on baby, and it's like, I'm the one that's been housing this thing for 9 or 10 months. Like, what about me? So yeah, we just liked to make it a little bit different. We had an amazing baby shower. Anyway, that was a whole side quest. We're back. Other things that I did around 33-ish weeks. I added a few supplements. So I mentioned this earlier. There were a couple of supplements that I added in the 3rd trimester to make sure that baby is getting what she needs. So I added selenium, I added beta carotene, and I added choline and inositol. Just to make sure that, again, getting what I need, giving her what she needs. I started dry brushing daily before my showers. This is something that I have actually been wanting to do for years, and I just never got a dry brush and just never did it. And actually a friend of mine gifted me a dry brush and a bunch of other like home spa vibe things for my bridal shower. That was a surprise right before my wedding. And as I was going through and organizing things in the other bedroom that was turning into Eliana's room, I was like, oh my God, this dry brush, like, why have I never pulled this out? So I started dry brushing daily before my shower, and I really genuinely believe that that is part of the reason that like my whole body has not swollen up. Like literally I hear it all the time. People are like, "Oh my God, you're all belly." Like you would never know. And I really do think that that is part of it, on top of the fact that I use a natural loofah, which does exfoliate really well in the shower. But natural loofahs I've been using for literally years. Around this time, I also made sure that I had all of the labor snacks that I would want, had everything like organized in a bag. I organized Eliana's room more. I washed all the clothing, the blankets, the sheets, all of that stuff. I put up like little bits of small decor in her room. Again, I didn't really go crazy in there, but made it a little bit more of like a vibe. And then I really focused on knocking out like all of those little things on my to-do list that's like been there forever or for months that I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna have the time or energy to do this after she's here. So like, let's just get these things done. So I was really focused on that for the last several weeks. You know, I got to pop into the middle of this episode to remind you about my next holistic wellness retreat happening in Sedona, Arizona, September 3rd to the 7th. I have a few spots available. I would love to set up a discovery call with you to see if this is a good fit for you. We are going deeper than ever on this particular retreat, and I cannot wait. All right, back to our topic. Now moving forward to almost where we are now, around the 36-week mark, so about 2.5 weeks ago, these are the things that I started doing to really prepare my mind and body for like the birthing process. So a couple of things, first of all, that my midwife recommended are evening primrose oil capsule suppositories. I had never done a vaginal suppository before, and I was like, okay. But honestly, once I got the hang of it, I'm like, okay, it's not that bad. It's actually like easier than I thought. But at first I was like, this is a slippery little fucker. Like it does not want to go up there. But basically putting one of those capsules up in my vagina, near my cervix every night, making sure that I do it like when I'm really in bed laying down for the night so it doesn't like come out. There is a gentle birth tincture. I think the company is called like Mountain Rose or something like that. And that was recommended to me to take daily. You take it like 2 or 3 times a day, with a meal. And then also that Nora tea that I mentioned, making sure that I'm brewing it strong and then drinking it 2 to 3 times a day. All of these things are just said to encourage the cervix to soften and just kind of like support your uterus and your system in like preparing for the birthing portal. I made sure that my birthing center bag is completely packed. Max made sure that his is packed. You know, we're going to have to throw like toothbrush and things like that in there last minute, but everything else is packed. Making sure that like baby's outfits are in there, my outfits, that sort of thing. I mentioned earlier, but we created a mix to play for Eliana during our little golden hour. I also had 2 different maternity shoots during this time because honestly, I feel like I didn't really have like a good maternity bump until like around past 33 weeks. And now I'm like, oh, now I have a bump. So I'm really glad that I waited a while to do my maternity shoots. I did one in studio and then I did one with Max, like in the forest. And oh, I can't wait to get the forest photos back. I just got the studio photos back the other day and those are also amazing, but like the forest, as I'm sure you know if you know me, is like our place and I just can't wait. And we did them pretty unconventional, if you will. So those will be really fun. Max and I have just in general been trying to spend more intentional time together and having a lot of conversations about the fact that things are going to be changing really soon and that it's not just going to be him and I, like literally for the rest of our lives, which is so wild to wrap my head around. And I think that that really goes along with like grieving the maiden, which I've talked about on this podcast before, realizing like, oh my God, wait, like it's not just going to be you and I, you know, like we're going to have like this being on this earth that is part you and part I for the rest of our lives. Like that is so wild. Really talking about those shifts in our relationship and our home life and our roles and knowing like where we stand with that. And we've literally sat and like had date nights where we write down like, what do our boundaries with family look like in the first month or two? What am I expected to do? What is he expected to like in terms of things around the house or financially or whatever? And I think that that's really important because I don't know that many people are so intentional with that, and they just assume like, I don't know, we'll figure it out. And some of the questions that we've like asked each other or like gone through that a lot of times have been prompted by like, people who posting on social media, like, hey, these are conversations you should have with your spouse before you give birth. Some of them seem kind of silly and we're like, okay, yeah, like we already do this really well or whatever, but some of them like really do spark some interesting conversation and insights that are really important to have. We installed the car seat into the car around 36 weeks. And then actually, funny enough, today we had a woman who is in our community who's a NICU nurse. She offers to do like free home consultations to make sure that like your car seat is installed properly, that you know how to like all the ins and outs of your specific car seat, how to put baby in. She brings over this like 8-pound like baby doll to pretend you're putting a child into the car seat and everything. And so that actually was a really helpful session. Highly recommend if you have someone like that in your community, because I have 3 younger siblings. I have been a pediatric occupational therapist for a very long time. Like, I feel pretty confident in that area, but Max has never had experience with any of that. And so honestly, I made the appointment mostly with him in mind, but I actually ended up learning a lot too about like that particular car seat and kind of some of the features and that sort of thing and things to look out for. So highly recommend, even if you think you got it. Another thing I wanted to mention that has become really obvious during these last few weeks of pregnancy is how important it is to have your priorities in place, like focusing on what actually needs to be done and putting aside like the shoulds or the wants. Prior to basically this week, I have been fighting in my head with all these shoulds. Like, I should be doing this, I should be doing that, I should be setting up things in my business so that it'll run better when I'm like away for a month and all these things. And I had to take a step back and just say, is this what's really truly important right now? No, things are going to run. Like, it's going to be fine. I'm not going to like completely fall off the face of the planet. I feel really good about the pace of work that I have right now. And I'm just going to continue doing what I'm doing and when I have capacity for it. And that's where I'm at. I will say in general, the social outings, that has been a big one. I think I mentioned this before, but now it's like I have an hour and a half to 2 hours in me of like being out and about, and then I need to come home and take like a 2-hour nap. And that's just where I'm at. And meeting my body where I'm at, like I was talking about during first trimester, has been absolutely huge during these last couple of weeks. So those are all the things that I have done from preconception all the way till now at 38 and a half weeks to prepare for pregnancy and the birthing portal. But I also wanted to quickly mention the things that I have not done because I think that that's also just as important. Some of these things were things that kind of surprised me that I thought like, oh, like why wouldn't I do that? This is a way shorter list than the things that I have done, but I just wanted to throw them out there. So number 1 is taking weekly bump photos. I don't fucking remember. I don't remember to take them. I was taking them at the beginning, I think every week, maybe for the first like few weeks. And then after that, it was like every 2 weeks. And now it's just like literally when I remember. And I'm very happy to have my maternity photos now because those are good bump photos. But yeah, that's something that I thought maybe I would like post on social media more about like the bump photos or like videos or something like that. And I just haven't. And like in general, I thought that I would be posting, writing, or sharing like way more about my journey. And it just hasn't felt resonant. And when I look back, I'm like, okay, during my autoimmune journey, I did share a lot in the moment as things were happening. But for whatever reason, in the last few years, I've been sharing more about what's happened in my life, like after it's happened. Because I think that I don't know, maybe I need like more time to process things or more time to reflect on how to properly convey the message, the story that I want to share to make sure that it is beneficial to whoever's reading or listening. So yeah, that's something that kind of has surprised me that I haven't, it's not that I haven't wanted to share. It's just like I haven't felt super called to constantly share about it until now, funny enough. Other things I have not done is worked out every week. There have definitely been weeks where I have not worked out at all, which is not normal for me. And again, meet my body, meet my mind where I'm at and do what I can. I've still been going on walks as much as I can. I mean, ever since about 13 or 14 weeks, I've been going on walks every day. But during that first trimester, I was thrown for a loop. I also have not meditated or journaled every day. Journaling is one that even prior to pregnancy, I don't want to say I fell off of, because I don't believe that like we truly fall off of intuitive practices that feel really good to us, but sometimes we have to go in these ebbs and flows of our practices, because sometimes we just don't have the energy for them, and again, we have to meet ourselves where we're at. But even prior to pregnancy, I was not journaling every single day like I used to for years. I was probably journaling a couple times per week. And then during pregnancy, I've been journaling, I would say probably an average of like once per week, which is where I'm at. And it feels good. And I don't feel bad about it. Meditation, I will say I have meditated almost every day of being pregnant. However, just like anything else, there's always times when it's like, I just don't want to, I can't, whatever. Something gets in the way and I just don't. The thing that I mentioned before that has really thrown me for a loop is I have not been sleeping well. Since days before I found out I was pregnant, I had insomnia, and I have never dealt with sleep issues in my life. And I'm very blessed and privileged to say that. I fully understand that. But I have actually had to take sleeping pills like Unisom frequently throughout pregnancy. There was a time that I had to take them like 4 nights a week or something. And I really don't like to take over the counter meds ever. But this was one where I'm like, okay, well, I'm obviously not going to sleep when she comes. And I felt so much worse on the days where I was not getting any sleep, symptoms wise. And so I was like, I have to. Like, I literally don't have a choice. I've tried everything else. And honestly, even then, for me personally, the sleeping pills made it so that like I could sleep. It would still take me like an hour or two to fall asleep, but I would fall asleep. And then I would sleep for like maybe 4.5, 5 hours solid. And then I was just like up again. And I'm like, okay, well, at least it was solid sleep while I got it. Like, and I've heard people all the time like, oh, I take half of when I'm in and I'm knocked out for 8 hours. I'm like, it's just not me. I don't know. But it has helped. And then the second to last thing is I have not felt good in clothing. I can't remember the last time I really truly felt good in what I was wearing, honestly. Actually, I can. Okay, that's a lie. There were like a couple of times during pregnancy, like my wedding, and like when we went to see this DJ Peekaboo a few weeks ago, I really liked my outfit. It was the same bodysuit I wore at nighttime at our wedding, and I was like so stoked that it fit. But other than that, like I have not felt good in what I've worn. Maternity clothing, like fucking sucks, honestly. Um, and I feel honestly good in my body. Like when I'm naked, I'm like, okay, like I love my body still, even though it's obviously changed a lot. But when I put on clothes, I'm just like, ugh, like I don't like it. And I am so grateful to have a couple of friends who have given me all kinds of maternity clothing, but just none of it. I've just been living in activewear, which I feel like is pretty common from pregnancy. But I basically live in yoga pants and a sweater. And it is what it is. It makes me feel a little bit better when I like do my makeup, do my hair, that sort of thing. But I can't wait to like feel good in clothes again. And then lastly, another thing I have not done is honestly getting more organized behind the scenes with business stuff. I have always wished that I was like that girly that had everything like organized and in spreadsheets and this and that, like accounting and all of that stuff. Honestly, one day soon I need to just hire someone to do that stuff for me, because while I could be good at it, I'm actually like have such a Virgo mindset when it comes to keeping things organized outside of my business. For whatever reason in my business, my organization looks like just a bunch of different notes in my phone of like business expenses and like people that are interested in retreats and this and that. And I'm just like, why can't I get this under control? But you know what? That's where we're at. And that's just something that I have not tackled. My priority has been in genuinely sharing my experiences and having these like genuine soulful connections with the people that are, for instance, interested in my events and retreats. And one day we'll get there. We'll get organized. Okay, so there it is. This episode turned out to be way longer than I thought it was going to be. I was like, oh, I'm going to record maybe like 25, 30 minutes. Here we are 45 minutes later. But I hope that these tips were helpful or insightful for you. Again, if you're on like a preconception, conception, pregnancy journey, if there are any things that I said that sparked your interest and you're like, I need to know more about that, please reach out to me. I am an open book. And like I said, one of these days, I will also record another episode all about the controversial things that I have done during my pregnancy, because I don't know, I feel like it like deserves to be said and out there, because so many people do things like quote unquote the normal way. And I'm just not about that. I'm like, do things that feel aligned for you. And that is what's going to give you the most beneficial outcome, as long as it's coming from an intentional place of love and intuitive wisdom. So I'm going to stop yapping now. I appreciate you for being here. Once again, it would mean the absolute world to me if you would rate, review, subscribe, share all the things, and also reaching out to me and just giving me a little hey. So I know that I'm not talking to myself. Anyway, until next time, keep shining, keep aligning, and we'll talk super soon.